Right people, that's scrapping. I'm doing this recording on my phone because the camera's, the battery's died on the GoPro. It's not on charge. Got out a you get back up there and stay there. Got a commercial callback. I'm going to show how much I picked up. Went out for some pallets. The pallets didn't materialise. I wanted to keep them. Got a mile back from home and got a phone call. Can you come back? We got a load of cables and stuff, and that's what they got. All the bin, everything in the back there. There might even be some stuff that I can salvage and repair, although probably not. So yeah, I'm going to be setting up and I'm going to be sorting out the cables. I've got the box with the cables there. I've got PCBs in there I can sort out, so I'm going to find a box for those because I've got a buyer for those now. I reckon there's about 2 hours work just clearing out. I've got some aluminium, some copper, some brass possibly. Anyway, I'll show you how full that bin got with the cables. I won't put any in that I've already got, but I'll just get on and do it. Alright, see you in a bit. It's just a bit of a follow up to the video I did the other day. I shewed a scrap in the back of the vehicle. Well, I weighed it in this morning on my way out to pick up a industrial fridge freezer. It took service to get the damping on the back. It was stainless steel, but when we got it to the yard, they took one look and went, "Yeah, only alley, mate." That weighed in at 28 kilos. I was well pissed with that. But yeah, took my waste into T&N Hill. So all that salvage from yesterday, vehicle weighed in, weighed in at 27, yeah, so I had 360 kilos of a scrap iron. That's all like the old printers and other bits and pieces that I just couldn't be bothered to scrap out because there's nothing, no circuit boards worth anything in those, no little motors and stuff like that. 28.80 for that. Took some aluminium in, got 14 kilos of aluminium, and that included 2 light shrouds from the industrial lights that were thrown out. Currently Ali's back up to 480 a ton, so 670 for that. And I took in 3 motors. These are all the ones that come out of scrap. So I had 3 motors, one salvaged from a bench grinder, one came out of a drill, and a couple of fans. Yes, 4 motors. I could have, if I'd been wanted to, I could have split another. There was an SDS drill there. I could have split the motor out on that, and there was a grinder that I could have split the motor out on that. To be perfectly honest, it was getting towards 8 o'clock, and I just wanted to get in and chill. And also, from the lights, I got from each of those industrial lights a transformer from each, and there's a couple of other transformers as well in there. Now, these things weighed in unbelievably. They're only small, but I'll tell you what, they're about the size of a tea mug. I'll tell you what, he weighed them in as electric motors, and there was, I think, 8 of them, and they were 4 kilos a piece. No, there were 10 of them. No, yeah, it was 8, 4 kilos a piece, because the other motors added on about another 8 kilos. I think they didn't look heavy, but I'll tell you what, I put one on the scale, just one without wasn't mounted on any baseboard or nothing, and that was 4 kilos. So 300, they weigh them in as motors at my yard I use. They weigh them in at 300 a ton, and I got 12 quid for that. So I had from that little scrap out, and I haven't and I've got loads of wire that I need to process I really do need to get on top of the wire. I got, so that's excluding that. I got 47.50. I then weighed in another yard. I use the fridge freezer. They classed that as irony alley and gave me 150 a ton. That was 280 kilos, and it was, to be perfectly honest, really cheeky. There was actually there were some mowers, not mowers, sorry, some other bits and pieces in there that we threw in. There's a hoover and other bits and bobs that well, they were just hanging around. So we only got 42 quid for that, and I was not happy. We thought we was going to get 280 quid. If that had been completely stainless steel, that would have been 100 and that would have been close on 200 quid we'd have got. But the best day I've had so far, believe it or not, was the 9th of December. And to prove it, well, look at that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 tickets there. Those tickets were one load weighed in on the way out to pick up a commercial load. Irony alley, well, no, sorry, iron. 360 kilos of iron, £80 a ton. That was 28.80. I then went out and picked up a commercial load from I have a friend who's an agency worker, and he was working the last couple of weeks at a factory, and they were having a tidy up, and they said, yes, could you arrange, do you know anyone that's a scrap metal? They were cutting up these stillages and an old bench, and he said he wanted the bench, and he said, I've got a mate who does scrap metal, and they said, right, get him along. So I took away the stuff they didn't want, first load. That weighed in at 620 kilos, and I got 50 quid for that, near enough, give or take 40p. So I hope you're adding all this up. I then went and went home en route back to my house, because I did have to go back there for another load. And what I did, I went home, had something to eat, picked up a couple of bits and pieces on an order outstanding, private order outstanding, and threw in on the way back to pick up the second load with a commercial premises. I then weighed in another 220 kilos of iron for 17.60. And there, big un, and I actually have a photo if I can edit it, I might do. Weighed in one item. This is one item. It's basically a rather large metal framework with wood all lined out inside it, for all compartmentalised, so they can, long strips of stuff can go in there. And if I'd have had a space to store it, it would have been ideal. 1.4 tons. That's 1,400 kilos. Because of the wood, I only got 60 a ton. I am not fussed about that. I show them a picture. If you've got something that you've been asked to scrap out and you don't know whether the scrap yard will take it, take a photo, take it down to the scrap yard, show them the photo, and say to them, will you take this? They'll either say yes, as I did in this case, because I had the photo when I went down first off, and one of the governors said, yeah, we'll take that, but only 60 a ton because of the wood. That was fair enough, but that's still got me 84 quid, even at 60 a ton. If I'd have smashed all the wood out, I'd have probably been 100 kilos down, but I would have made more money. But it's getting them to take the wood out. I mean, they could have just rammed it with the forklift, smashed it all up, and then made themselves work tidying up, but I didn't want to piss them off. This particular company is like the first commercial contract I've got. They were the ones that all of the electrical stuff came from. I was given the impression that there's some pallets to get rid of. Went down there, and the yardman hadn't arranged for what they were going to do with the pallets, even though he'd said come pick them up. They said no, they're going to hold on to them. I headed back home. Got about a mile and a half from my house. Phone went, looked at the dashboard of the car. Yes, or sorry, the truck. Yes, it is the yardman. Pulled off the road, parked up, got out, phoned him back. Can you come back? Do you want any electrical cables and printers, stuff like that? Yeah, of course I do. You know, there's a couple of old computers and some other bits. Alright, come back, it's big green bin full. And when I'm talking big green bin, I mean over here we have these, what they call Euro bins, that basically you put your waste in and then they empty it into the back of a waste cart. Yeah, filled to the brim, and then there was a big stack of printers and stuff. I know there were network switches. I mean, I haven't finished processing all of the e-waste, but I have found an e-waste buyer who will buy the circuit boards at £7 a kilo at current price. That does change by the day. They do charge if they pick them up, but if I can get like 10-20 kilos, I'll run them down to the yard. It's only a 40-minute drive away. I don't mind doing that, and if I take them in the truck, I may even end up picking up some scrap on the way back. My scrap collection guy, he's been really busy. He's been getting me loads of scrap, as you can see from all the tickets there. There's tickets, so we weighed in one today. We've got a potential sports club that needs some stuff doing. Got a link with a garage that when we turned out to be actually owned by an old workmate of mine. I did get into quote on welding some of my stuff, but welding up my van, but no. I'm not paying 700 quid. I managed to get a piece of steel today from today's collection that I'm keeping to one side. I also got a wheelbarrow that I need to weld up anyway, so the plate will come in handy for that. I picked up one of my lists. He provides me with lists, anything really large, obviously he'll ride along and we'll weigh it in and cash it out, and he gets his commission payment that way. Worst one we went to, when we did some weighing in, we went to one in Colchester, and if you're in the Colchester area, avoid it like the plague. It's down the Hythe. There's two scrap yards next door to each other. One you go in the entrance, they basically share the same sort of entrance. One you go in and turn left, and the other one you just go straight up. You know, we made the mistake of going in the one we go straight up. We weighed in and 750 kilos of steel and got 35 quid. That's just bloody embarrassing. And I think what he does with it, they just load it into a big 40-yard skip, and then they call the scrap metal people down to buy it, to take the skip away, and then they'll get their 80 quid a tonne. But I think that's bloody embarrassing, and I'm not going anywhere near them again. I do use 2 yards that are very reliable. They give me constant pricing. One's out at Ardley, National Metal Recycling. They've got places all over East Anglia. They're good. And T&N Hill at Witton. And if I'm heading out towards, if I picked up a load at Braintree, if I picked up a load at Chelmsford and I don't want to lug it all the way back to Witton, which is about, I don't know, 8 or 9 miles, I can just head out on the Peveril Road and just drop it off at EMR. They pay the same. I've got an account there. They pay the same as TNN. They pay the same as they're another big national. The only thing I don't drop off there is aluminium cans, because they treat them as basic shred steel, and both TNN Hill and National Metal Recycling, both they treat them as aluminium. So You know, why should I weigh something in at 80 quid a tonne when I can weigh it in at 480 quid a tonne? And I've got a bag full of aluminium cans out there now that I'm going to smelt down into metal bars purely because they take up less space, and I can get more of them on the back of the truck. I mean, aluminium's going up in the price at the moment, so hopefully, yeah, I'm just looking through here, that 85 quid load, it's got to be the highest I've weighed in anywhere. Oh no, that's, I was going to look, I was like, oh god, they got one here for nearly 270 quid, but that's not, that's the bill for me tyres for the truck. I had to spend 270 quid on 4 new tyres on the back. I need another one on the front, so I'll have both fronts done. I need welding done on the truck. I need, which I'm going to have a go at myself. I need to do the rear anti-roll bar and stabilisers. They're not a huge amount, a couple of £100 to the garage to do those, and the shock absorbers need doing as well. But yes, most of my average, looking at this, most of my averages seem to be about the half-ton weigh-ins, apart from that one big thing. And when you haven't got a cage side truck, you just got an open tipper, it does make it a bit harder to get too much on the back. I mean, I've got the little crane that lifts things on, but I mean, that's not a hell of, you know, that's a help, but it's not hell of a thing. Right, 11th, 9th, right. I'm just putting all the paperwork in order. I've got to scan all of these dockets in and add them into QuickBooks. At some stage I've got to do that over the weekend when I've got to clear a head. I've got another load to do tomorrow. I picked up, we've got some garage doors. I'll try to empty tonight, but got there just about 5 minutes after the yard had shut. So that was down to being stuck in traffic in Colchester. I mean, Britain's first city does tend to have its traffic problems just like London does. Then any time you get certain areas, you're not going to move at certain times of day. It's going to take you 20 minutes to do about half a mile. Anyone that drives in any of the other big cities will know exactly what I mean. Yeah, it's a nightmare. But yes, got there 5 minutes after the yard shut, which was a bit of a git, but then we went to Clacton and picked up some bits and pieces that would go on with the garage doors and what we got on there. Yeah, we went to Chelmsford first off, run with an empty van, picked up a washing machine from a ground floor flat. She was glad to get rid of that. Back via Stanway to pick up a load that I'd actually missed. I'd picked one up nearly opposite that she told me about. I think it's her sister or something, and then I completely forgotten about it. I'd driven past, I'd seen it piled up. I ended up getting rid of the wheelbarrow, and there's a wheelbarrow, and one of these garage doors are just broken down into sections, which is really nice. So that all went on there, and then just as we were about to drive off, because I had my son with me, the house owner came and she goes, "Oh yeah, number so and so over the road." So I said, "Oh, I picked some up from them the other day." She said, "No, they got some more." So I went over there, and they got barbecue and various other bits and pieces, a couple of old chairs and stuff. So that all went on the back, and then we went out and picked this garage from round the corner from them, picked up a big up and over garage door. Now I just wish I could find somebody that buys those second hand. That's another thing, you know, just if I could strip bits off and they just got, right, there's the door, because the doors do get damaged, and then people will just have the whole thing ripped out, whilst they tend to be much of a muchness of standard size. So if I can find somebody that buys those, even if it's only 10 quid a door, it's more than I'll get for it scrap, because it was light as hell. So that's another thing to look in for. So I'll need to get rid of that. So tomorrow morning I've got I've got to pick up some stuff. I'll pick up another washing machine. I think there's a cooker, an oven cleaning bath. Yeah, I might repurpose that myself. I don't know what it's made of yet, but he said it's bloody heavy. And then once I've done that, tip again, and then go. There's a village halfway between where I tip and home. I'll call in there. The guy's got 3/4 of a skip full of stuff. Just got to pull all the crap off the top of the skip. There's mowers and bits and pieces in there. Again, I'll have my boy with me. I mean, petrol mowers, anything. If I pull the engine over and it seems to work, then fine. I mean, if the engine's dead, I'll just whip off the pull starts, because I've got a mower that needs a pull start. I had a Mountfield with the Honda engine, but I didn't have the right pull start. It did start and splutter a little bit, but that it wouldn't start after that. So I'm not messing about with the mower. And I wish I kept hold of it and passed it on to him. There's a bloke that does buy mowers. This is one of these big industrial Mountfields with a big solid metal mower deck, the aluminium mower deck. So I should have kept it stripped it all off, and then I could have cashed in the aluminium mower deck. But I went and scrap. I wasn't going to mess about. I had too much to do. I've got 3 mowers in my front garden. No, 4 mowers in my front garden. I threw one of those on the back as well to make it load up, and that was what tipped. That's what I tipped yesterday. That's the one I tipped on the 9th when I did the commercial run when I'd called in for lunch. So that was, but yeah, I'm very busy this week. Made a living out of this week. Let's put it that way. Made it enough that I can take a wage that won't harm the business. It's the first week that's happened, so I'm pleased with that. Next week it's looking a bit scarce, but we don't know. There's loads coming in. I've got some. So I was picking up the garage door. Somebody I picked some stuff up from before, and another part of the same village came along. She was coming back from school with the 2 kids, and she said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have we're having a new cooker and a washing machine, and the possibility that her dad might also have a couple of items as well." So she'll be calling me Monday, so I'll be getting potentially another couple of washing machines, cooker, and some quad bike frames, and other bits and pieces. If I have time during the day, I'll take the motors out of the washing machines. I don't bother with the tumble dryers. They're just a pain in the arse to get things out. Cookers I don't bother doing nothing with other than cutting the wires off the back if they've got wires. I always trim the wires off everything, depending on the plugs. Style of plug, they'll either be moulded plugs if they've got the fuses that run across between live and neutral, then that tends to be irony alley, so I just chop them off, throw them in the back of the truck, not interested. If the fuse on the moulded plug runs up the plug, in other words, runs from like neutral to live, from live to earth sort of direction, then they are brass, and I will recover that brass by busting them out, because brass is a good price per tonne. But I'll take a few kilos in. I've got some brass in the front of the truck I need to get out. I might melt them down into bars as well. I want to give my new smelter a little go. I haven't even fired it up. I haven't even got it out of the box. But yeah, I had a mate come round last night. I've got from my e-waste, I got a 1 terabyte hard drive out of one of those EETV boxes. They had a hard drive in, believe it or not, and it's 1 terabyte, and it's a SATA 3 hard drive, and it's right. Okay, that's now up for sale. It's a Seagate one, and it's designed for video, so I'm assuming it's quicker at spin speed and everything like that than a standard one. So it will run as a standard drive, I'm sure. But yeah, I've scratched a couple of monitors out. I've had one that there's no screws; it's just all glued together. So I wasn't going to be arsing about with that. I just threw it on the back of the truck. Like, sod it. How long do you spend messing about with something to get a circuit board out? More than 5 minutes to get in it. I'm not interested. In the back of the truck, job done. I've still got a TV to pull off the back of the truck. It's been trundling around now for a week. I've got another TV to do and another monitor to do. My mate who has my bikes has promised me some plastic bins to put stuff in, which is good because they're a uniform size. And I can weigh one and then label them all up with the tear weight, and then when I weigh stuff up, I know exactly how much I've got in them, and they stack nicely as well. I'll just put a bit of wood on top of one and then stack the next one on top, and they're not too heavy to lift off. I've got some really big bins that I've got down the bottom of the garden. I've got so I put my cables in. I've got a big box full of cables. I've got a lawnmower catch box with cables. I got so many cables, and I've got to sort them into what is and what isn't what they call recoverable. I mean, if it's standard 3-core cable like you get on flex cables that you get on irons and stuff like that, it's worth doing. But thin things like you get data cables, that sort of stuff, they're not worth it. You know, just take the ends off. They don't contain any gold pins. They like them clean. If you leave plugs on, then it degrades the whole thing down to low value. If you trim them up, they're quite happy to take them in as a higher value cable, which is worth noting. They do mid-grade cables, and then they do the really, you know, if you take it in bright, copper bright, and just basically stripped of all of its insulation, you take it in, and that's like £4 a ton, as opposed to £1 a ton for insulated copper wire. So it's worth doing, in my opinion. You're going to get 4 times as much. I mean, if you've got one of these automatic machines, yeah, fine. I don't. I have one that you just wind it through. So yeah, I mean, out of that load, by the way, from the commercial load, the wires and stuff, I managed to get 4. I managed to get 2 NiCad batteries. My mate strips them down, takes the cells out, checks them all out, and uses them to rebuild battery packs. I've got a Milwaukee drill, which I don't know if it works because there's no battery, and I've got a Bosch drill with a 24-volt pack, and I just happen to, well, 2 24-volt packs. I just happen to have a Bosch multi-charger that I picked up as part of a scrap collection months back, and I used it because I had a 7.2 volt, 2 7.2 volt packs, a drill and a lamp. My mate's busy repairing, rebuilding those 2 packs. They both charged. They both. I didn't try them in the drill, but yeah, tried them in the lamp, and the lamp worked. So I'm waiting for it to come back with those so I can put them up for sale. The Bosch 24-volt drill seems to be okay, so I shall put that up for sale as well. I'll give it a good clean up. Oh god, the stuff I've got to check. I've got to strip down get the motor out of an old Kenwood mixer that's completely aluminium, cast alley. That weighs quite a bit, so that's a good chunk of cast alley to go. Got one of these 110 volt, you know, things that, you know, mix plaster with. It's covered in plaster. If it rotates, that's fine. If it runs, fine. I mean, they're heavy as hell because they're 110 volts. UK 110 volt is basically 55 volts with through what they call a centre tapped earth supply. So you basically have the 3 cables. You have an earth and 2 lives. Each one is, you have an earth, a neutral and a live, but the live supply is 55 volts and the earth supplies 55 volts on the off cycle. The machine then combines them to create 110 volts, if I remember reading correctly. We'll check on Google. I'm probably completely wrong, but yeah, that that's the 110 volt system over here. It's used on building sites. It's not a legal requirement to use them. It's a recommendation, because if you chop through the cable, you're not going to get fried, basically. It's pretty clever how the machines combine, how the electronic equipment combines those into 110 volts, and they seem to work just as well as a 240 volt. You haven't got the grunt, but you got the weight because the motors are a bigger motor. But if this thing works, I'm going to clean it right up and see what it is, because you can't see any of the labels. That could be sellable as well. I could be keeping that and using it. I do have a 3 kilowatt 110 volt transformer. I've got a load of 110 volt lights and stuff. I'm going to sell on. I want to keep the transformer for obvious reasons, for testing 110 volt equipment. And yeah, that's about it really. Nothing else to report. Might take some video of that skip, but I shall leave it there. Bye. Okie dokie scrappers, have a look at this. Picked that up this morning, went to pick something else up, and that wasn't there, but en route we spotted a load of stuff at the side of the road. Pulled up, yep, you can have that for scrap. Oh yeah, by the way, we got batteries, we got some chairs, we got tools, all manner of stuff. All of that in the back there, apart from that wheelbarrow and that other thing, that was all from one house. So I'm going to scrap this lot out, see how much I get. Oh, right, just to let you know, that load that we took in just now, and this most of it is from one person, apart from one sort of oven cleaning box thing. We took in 78 kilos of batteries. I didn't think I was 78 kilos. They're £4.25 a tonne UK. That's what, about £4.20. Yeah, £4.25 a kilo. No, 42.5p a kilo. That's it. So I got 33 quid for that. Took in 340 kilos of scrap. I mean, it was fluffy, it was tables, chairs, lots of sods. That was another 27.20. We're not going to do the run that I was going to do today, which is pick up from Kelvedon. So let me have a look. We got 60.35 for that load, 19.20 for the other. So that's not a bad day's work. That's just the morning's work. It's about 4 hours. If I could get that every day, I'd be happy. That every 4 days. Right, I'm off to pick up what we were supposed to pick up when we got waylaid with this load of scrap. Now it's coming empty. Right, see you again.